Warning: the following live broadcast may contain loud, obnoxious, shrill, and alarming noises that might be considered disturbing, if not outright uncomfortable to listen to, especially if you are wearing headphones. I share my office space with an African gray parrot and two parakeets, as you can hear, and I have no control over their behavior while I am live streaming, unlike my regular videos where I have the opportunity to edit them out as best as I can, and even then I fail. If you are sensitive to loud, surprising background noises, I recommend either not turning your volume up too loud or watching my edited pre-recorded videos instead. Viewer discretion is advised. And probably I should have checked to make sure I'm on the right microphone before I went live. But hey, there we go. So, hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Egoworks DRAWStream featuring me. hello. So let me see who's joining me today. Oh, hello, Joseph. Hello, and hello, Melissa. Hello. I remembered this time. I figure, it's like a new year, new schedule, right? That we should just get on with it with doing the draw streams. And yes, I see you, my beautiful eyeball people watching from regions beyond. And if you are joining us on YouTube or Twitch, hello, welcome. And especially if you are joining on YouTube, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever any of my streams and my shows go live. And while you're here, come hang out in the chat, keep the sexy people company, and so that we can converse in real time. If you would like to, or you can just keep me in the background while you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. So, but thank you. I appreciate you being here. So regardless of why you have me on in the background, I appreciate you for doing that. So you could be listening to Spotify and whatever Drake songs it tries to force on you. But instead you are listening to me. So thank you again. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, hello, everyone. My name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. I have been self-publishing comics since 1992, and you know what that means?
You really want to know my process?
Absolutely.
Usually starts with a holla and ends with a creamsicle.
And then if there's time in between, Thundercats. Oh!
I am the artist for the Furry Fantasy Adventure Tall Tales and the creator of Egoraven, Heir of the First Unicorn, a medieval fantasy drama you can read online at my website at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS. And if you are following the series on Kickstarter or you want to check out what it could be, what Egoraven is about, you can click on the link in the show notes and in the chat because issue 12 is on pre-launch right now on Kickstarter. I am currently working on issue 12, so I don't have an exact date for the campaign to launch. But if you hit the notify me button on that link, you will get an email the exact second I go live with that campaign. So if you want to check it out, hit the link in the chat and in the show notes. And I am also co-host with Nita Lanning on the Raging to the Vlog show every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, where we talk about life, comics, and everything else in between, and whatever nonsense is going on. We tend to try to keep it, along the topics of indie comics, but hey, it's our show. We could talk about whatever we want to. So and of course, just as a reminder, if you are watching me here on YouTube, you can also check out my archive of over 7,000 videos and 7,700. Jesus, I haven't been on that long. 700 videos of live streams and tutorials and whatever I ended up speed paints, whatever I ended up just recording. So I have an archive of over 700 videos that you can check out as well if you missed anything. So and like I said, it's like a, and subscribe and please the algorithm gods as it's always. The algorithm gods are angry and spiteful. Oh my goodness. So yes, so happy 2026, everybody. This is the first draw stream of the new year. Oh, and here we are. And Lou is in the house as well. Someone's been busy over the holidays. Well, I've been trying to be. I've been trying. I don't think I've stopped really. It's not that I'm busy. It's just that I haven't stopped being busy. So yeah, so today on the Cintiq today, we are going to start putting in the flats for EGORAVEN issue 12. I am just very, very close to finishing inking and shading the book. I have around 5-ish pages to go, but I'll get more into detail about that. So today I figure that we start a little bit of flatting to finally get the last phase of putting together this issue, and getting it ready for Kickstarter. So. Oh, because definitely, if you have been following my tales of woe, I've been really struggling with trying to get these issues out in a more timely manner, and I'm just hitting face first into the wall that is my actual way I work, as opposed to how I like to pretend that I work, i.e. I am significantly slower, or pretty much slower and more distracted than I usually was admitting to. And I think because of that, because I wanted to, I know how that feels. Yeah, exactly. And because I was so determined to hold on to the fantasy version of myself that did an issue every 2 months, when I don't know why I chose that number, because that's never happened. So I'm kind of beating myself over what I should have been accepting from the get-go, that it's until I kind of get my distractions under control, this is just what it is. It's going to take me about 4 months to actually do a comic, rather than 2 months that I like to pretend that I could do a comic. But we'll see. I mean, it's I don't know. You know what? I think it's just best for me to just keep working. Just to keep doing my work, and then it's when it's done, it's done. But in this kind of fast-paced environment that we're just in general, it's kind of hard to accept that fact that I can't just crank out books the way I want to, while at the same time keeping a certain level of quality that I would like to continue having, while conversely, though, kind of lamenting not having a higher level of quality that would require me to work even slower and at a more deliberate pace. So it's trying to find a middle ground. It's trying to find a middle ground with that, or I could just accept, just finish the book. When the book is done, that's when we hit a Kickstarter. That's it. But there are certain expectations and certain responsibilities that kind of hinge on me finishing books and putting them on Kickstarter as soon as I can. But we'll get more into that. So I was just checking out my order on Mixum. I was just checking on the order for my House of Bob sketchbooks, which are at Mixum right now. And they say that they're going to ship on the 8th. So I'm really looking forward to that. Depending on where they're coming from, it could take a week. It could take 2 weeks for those things to ship to me, especially if they're coming from California. It'll take about like a week and a half to 2 weeks for me to get the books. But hopefully the printer is at a shorter distance. So hopefully I'll be able to get them hopefully next week. But I don't know. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like when they get here, they get here. So we're very close to fulfilling the House of Bob campaign. Again, thank you everybody who pledged to the campaign. And you should, if I'm lucky, you should be able to start getting books by the end of the month. So, which is what my goal is, to at least get all of the sketchbooks that don't have commissions attached to them, get them all out so everybody can enjoy their sketchbooks. And then I can start working on the commissions. I have my stack of commissions right here. That were ordered through the campaign, and I was just sorting them out, trying to figure out a good timeline for them. And in the meantime, I'm just waiting for some supplies to come in. I ordered some rapidograph nibs from Blix, which was a little hard to find. Actually, I was a little concerned that Kohinoor went out of business, but no, it seems that they're having supply chain issues. Oh, hello, Efrain. Hello. So Kohinoor is having supply chain issues or manufacturing issues or whatever issues. So a lot of the supplies that I need in terms of the pens themselves are out of stock. But luckily Blix had most of them except for one 00 nib that I usually use. But what I did instead was I bought the next size up, because that's an ultra fine nib. Actually, it's a fine nib. They have nibs that are even finer than that, but I don't use those. So what I did instead, just to try them out, is to get like the next size up. So it's like a number 1, like a number 0 and a number 1 nib. And I'm hoping that those nibs can tide me over, or not be like too different to what I'm used to working with when I'm inking traditionally. Another thing that I did, that I was reading, that it works really well, because part of the reason why I need to constantly buy nibs, I mean, as expensive as they are, is the fact that they get clogged. It's like no matter how much I try to clean them, they get clogged very quickly and they don't work as well, even though I'm using the Kohinoor ink that goes with that pen. But I had read, actually, I read this a while ago on Colleen Duran's blog on Substack, that she uses one of those jewelry cleaners, those sonic jewelry cleaners, to clean her nibs. And when I was like buying the nibs from Blix, there were some reviews there because I bought the cleaner for the nibs, and there were people saying how they use the cleaner with their sonic like jewelry cleaners to clean the nibs. It's like, oh, okay, so I guess this is not an odd thing. So I bought a sonic cleaner, and I'm hoping to clean all my nibs and hopefully make them last longer, so that I don't have to keep buying them every time I need to do a large batch of commissions. It's kind of like I'm pretty good with Copics. I I bought a lot of refills the last time I did commissions for House of Bob, and everything is still pretty pretty good. I don't think I have to buy anything um for that. But I'm not going to know that until I get to the coloring stage of everything, and then we'll see from there. But some of the things that I have gotten in, I wasn't going to do this, but I decided that I don't know, it just seemed like a good thing to do, like because I've been hearing a lot of debates, or at least some debates, not a lot, but like there's always been like this debate as to whether giving away freebies is actually like worth it. Like, like, do people actually like this stuff? Do they just throw them out? Am I wasting my money and or this, that, and the other thing, right? But I don't know. It's like when I was going to not do it for House of Bob, but I just got the itch to do it. Like I just felt like, like everybody like was so generous in supporting the campaign that it's like, oh come on, the least I could do is like just toss in some freebies in the boxes when I get the books, right? So the first thing that I got is a double-sided print that everybody who pledged to the campaign is going to get. It is double-sided, but I'm not going to flip it. Let's just say that I'm pretty sure you guys can figure out what's on the other side of this print, especially if you remember the Monsterotica trading cards that I did. So the other side is the variant of this image. And I really like the way it came out. And I think I'm going to, continue. I'm trying keeping myself from flipping it. You don't want to get knocked off the air. So everyone's going to be getting this print. Also, because it's double-sided, it gives you the option of which side you want to put on display, if at all, depending on what kind of household you live in. So it just gives you the choice whether you can get the clean side or the spicy side. So that's going to go in everybody's boxes when I get the sketch covers. And then the next thing that everyone is going to get is this sticker that I got in yesterday. So this is the first House of Bob sticker. I think it came out really, really cute. I've been trying to like do kind of like these like little saying type stickers instead of just doing like a straight pinup sticker, although I've seen people do both. But I keep hearing that stickers that have like sayings on them, that people seem to like them better than if it was just a pinup. So that's what I'm trying out. And I like the way it came out. So again, everyone is going to be getting the sticker and the print with their House of Bob pledges. So, in the end, it's like, I just think that it's kind of nice to get little freebies like this. In general. So I don't know. It's like Jose said, the only reason someone would try to convince you that freebies is like it's not worth it for a shop owner to give away freebies is because they're just being cheap. And whatever freebies that they would give has no real value anyway. I do have to admit, the person who is saying this in a video, how they don't bother with freebies, they're one of these Canva people where it's like they're not really designing anything. It's like they're just like selling like really, really basic clip art stuff. I mean, literally the garbage of tomorrow, essentially. And so it's like whatever freebies they give away wouldn't be worth anything, because it's like there's nothing to it. It's just, you're just slapping clip art on whatever and you're just calling it a day. And for some reason, your personality made it possible to sell that stuff, So as opposed to like, oh, I need this glass milk carton that has like this basic ass flower pattern on it that they made in Canva, and it's like, yeah, of course she would say that there's stuff that they don't give away freebies, because in the end, what are they going to give you? At least this is artwork that I drew, and this is a sticker that I actually designed based on artwork that I drew. So I don't know, you put this on the back of your Kindle or something, and and it's just like, it reminds you of me. Type of thing, as opposed to like, oh, here's a random sticker made out of clip art. Like, who are you going to think about, when you see that, so yeah, so in the end I decided to give away the free giveaway freebies to everybody who supported House of Bob, So Melissa says, when I heard about that sticker drama, I couldn't believe there was a whole world of sticker sellers that don't even design their own stickers and stationery. Yeah, these are the same people who like embraced AI. It's like I've seen it with t-shirt, with DTF t-shirt printers too, where it's like these are the people who were quickest to like embrace AI, and they're just like shitting out like minion designs, or whatever it is. It's like, it's just like whatever, like as if as if generative imagery wasn't like a copyright minefield already, like they're just like spitting out all of these AI generated minions and Mario Brothers and shit like that. And yeah, and there's plenty of sticker people who do that too, where it's just like all AI garbage. And then it's like they have the nerve to be bitchy about people like, oh, stealing their ideas. It's like, honey, you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything, and even honestly, and it's like, and even the people who just use clip art on Canva, it's like they use like the basic ass fonts, and they just like slap something together and some live, laugh, love shit. And then it's like they get mad when other people are just doing the same thing. And it's like, you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. Why are you mad? As if AI wasn't bad enough without the minions. Yeah. It's like, I mean, I do have to admit, though, I do like the minions. Actually, no, it's Gru. I like Gru is the character that I like. The minions just make him funnier, but like the minions on themselves, really, it's like, so yeah, so it's always funny to see like those types of that type of drama, right? And not to get into a conversation about AI, but it's like I just just find it funny how if there's one thing that AI is kind of doing is just like separating, like it's in a weird way, it's kind of separating, like actually it's kind of killing the demand for mid, which is really funny. It's like unintended consequences or whatever, where it's like, yeah, it's like you have all these mid-ass people who just want to shit out stuff, and now it's like they're all like angry with each other because they all have the same idea. Because if it's one thing that I'm learning I'm really learning from AI, is that for as much as as these people scream about how it's supposed to open up creativity, all it's doing is just showing like how many people can't think beyond minion memes and child porn. Like, really, it's like, I mean, because I've been hearing some shit about Grok, and about what's going on Twitter, and it's like, holy shit, it's like, so where's this renaissance? Is this AI renaissance that they were claiming that AI was going to unleash? Instead, it's just all memes and child porn, and that's it. And it's like, really? It's like, it really showed me just how, like, uncreative most people are. essentially. That the only thing that they could think of is like, okay, give me a Minion meme or give me Elsa naked. And it's like, oh, and I was worried about this. So yeah, it's like there's like a whole like sticker drama. There's whole like a DTF shirt drama. Oh, we'll be rich in Minion porn. Please don't manifest that. Although it's too late though. That's been too late, even without AI. But really, it's just it's real, yeah. But yeah, that there's a whole thing of stationary people who they don't even make their shit. They just like use clip art or they use AI, and it's like, and like I said, they're all angry at each other. And it's funny as fuck. So with that. So like I said, I'm working on EgoRaven issue 12 right now. If you are joining us for the first time, so let me just switch this screen. So if you're joining me for the first time, EgoRaven, Heir of the First Unicorn, is the story of an exiled unicorn princess forced into the mortal world, where she trains to become a knight, in the hopes that she can save her kingdom from the dragons that overtook it. So this is issue 12 of a 16-issue series. I keep wanting to say limited series, but it's limited in the sense that it's only 16 issues, but that's the complete story arc. So it is, like I said, it is on, it's on pre-launch on Kickstarter right now. Like I said, sign up for the pre-launch link, the notify me link, so that you get notified when the campaign goes live. Because as you can see on the screen, I am still currently working on it. And let me see if I could just open this window here. So as you can see, I still have a bit to go. I still have a couple of full pages that I have to complete. And I also have a couple of partial scenes, partial pages that I'm going to save completely for last, because what's going on in these partial scenes, partial pages, is that there's a scene in there that I have to do the complete scene, like background, separately. And then what I'm going to do is then I'm going to like take certain parts of that background and then fill in the rest of these empty panels that are here. So because of that, kind of like animation style, where they do like the one long background and then they use segments as they go along in the animation. So I'm saving that for last, but in the meantime, my goal is to continue on the rest of these pages. So we've got 6 pages here that I have been working on my tablet, on my Wacom Move Ink 11. So excuse me. So so I've been currently doing the pages mostly on the Wacom, and then I upload them into my Google Drive and then download them onto my computer, where then I fill in the files in Clip Studio so I can work, if I have to, I can work on them on my main computer, which is on my Cintiq Pro 16-inch. Excuse me. So that's what we're going to be working on today. So, like I said, what we're going to be doing is, so what I've been doing, let me just explain what I've been doing. So the reason why all the pages are green is because I have been doing just the inking and the shading of the pages, because that takes the longest for me. So I decided that it was more efficient for me to just get through the issue in its entirety and then go back and just put in the flats, because the flats it actually doesn't take long. In fact, I'm hoping that in the next hour and a half I can finish this page, just to show you how, because usually I don't finish anything on stream. Oh wait, where's my glove? Here it is. Usually I don't finish anything on screen. Well, on stream. But I think that this time, because we're just doing flats, that it'll be simple. It'll be a simple thing for me to complete. And at least that way, and especially on this last page of issue 12, that once this is done, I can start using this image for kind of like promotion, for promotion. That's what I'll be using this page for. So I figured, let's work on this today, get this finished, so I can have a finished page to start showing around to promote the link. So this is what it looks like. So like I said, this is me in the process of flatting, right? So this is the layer that has my highlights on it. Now, the reason why it's pink is so I can actually see it. But once I turn it to brightness, in Clip Studio, I think it's luminosity on Photoshop. When I do adjust it to brightness, on that layer, it turns into the shade that I'm looking for the highlight. So that's what it's going to look like once, but I'm not going to do that right now because I need to see where the highlights are while I'm flatting. But I'm going to turn that off because I don't need the highlights right now. It was only when I was putting in the highlights that I needed to see where they were. So this is the shading layer, which is on multiply. And again, I use the same purple. Like if I were to turn this back to normal, I use this same like kind of lavender color. After doing a lot of testing, this seemed to have been this turned out to be the color that worked best with my coloring style in terms of shading. I use a lot of bright colors, and this color seemed to work best with that. So this is what it looks like when it's just like the normal layer. But when I convert it to multiply, it reacts to the color underneath and then turns into the shading that I want for the image. And also, as you can see here, the reason why I use this green color is because that way I can put in my shading in the multiply layer as opposed to like that purple lavender color. And not only can I see it better, but also I'm not distracted by the color. That's why I don't flat first. I save the flatting for last. Because for some reason, the color, if I color it, put in my flats first and then try to shade on top of that, I get too distracted by the color. So it kind of like weirdly slows me down. That's why. So that's why I use the green, because I don't know. It's like it's less harsher. It's less harsh on my eyes as I'm working, and then I don't have to worry about the colors until the flats until last, which is when I turn off shading. That's where I'm getting to like the base level of this piece. So the green then turns into like kind of like my base as to where I'm going to put in the flat colors. So like if I were to turn off the inks, you can see how the flats just look. I'm not sure if I am flatting correctly, because I know that like gaps like this are not supposed to be there, but I've never had a problem with printing this. I think it's like more of an issue if you're like offset printing. But um luckily or unluckily, I don't sell enough to worry about offset printing. So it's all digital printing that I do, so I don't have to worry about separating about like the print the printers doing separations and whether they get misaligned and all that, because that's usually why you have to have the colors meet, and you can't have gaps between colors like this. But like I said, I digitally color. I've been digitally printing like for all this time and never had a problem. So we're not going to worry about it. We're not going to worry about the perfection of the flats. So okay, so let me get my music started. So okay, so as always, if it sounds like I'm competing with the music, I try to keep it as low as possible, but at the same time, just for the background noise, everybody to have the background music. And but if it sounds like I'm competing with it or you're having a problem hearing me over the music, just tell me and I'll lower the volume. It seems okay in my headphones. Usually I have my headphones, like the volume of my headphones a lot lower than I do now. But it seems to be okay. So yeah, so let's get started with this. Yeah, so what I'm doing also is that I have the last page of a previous issue. I think this is issue 10. Yeah, this is issue 10. Where I pretty much have all the characters on the same page, so I don't have to go like one by one. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this as my color guide for the other page, so that I'm putting the right colors where they're supposed to be. So what I'm going to do, make sure I'm on the right layer, which is the and the worst part is that I still have to get used to not pinching the screen. This is not a touch screen. Unfortunately, the Cintiq Pro 16 that I have, there's a glitch in it that doesn't allow the touch screen to work correctly. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to use it because I got so addicted to using the touch screen on my Move Ink that I had wanted to use the touch screen or activate the touch screen on the Pro, but it doesn't work. So I kind of have to like keep myself from poking at the screen and remember that I have to use the keyboard to do all my shortcuts. Which is kind of like a little annoying now, because like now I feel so much slower on the Pro. So okay, so we're going to be using the marquee tool, and we're just going to start tracing out the areas that we want to fill out. So yeah, so because of that, one of the things that you see, I'm trying to pinch the screen. The thing that I've been looking at is upgrading the Cintiq Pro. I mean, it's working fine. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it, so I'm not in a rush to update it. But but it's just something that I just think about from time to time, so that when the time does come for me to finally upgrade, I know exactly what I'm going to get, as as opposed to like fumbling around at the last minute, which is not good for me to do, because then it's like if I'm forced to upgrade without really planning for it, I just go for the cheapest option, which is not a good thing to do, because honestly, that's how I ended up with a 16 Cintiq Pro. My last one just completely stopped working. I don't remember what happened. I think it was like incompatible with the computer. Although what's funny is that thinking back on that, I think it was incompatible. It's just that there was a particular setting I didn't know I had to turn on, and I just ended up panic buying a new Cintiq anyway. And I always regretted not buying the larger version. I think it was like a 21-inch or something as opposed to 16. And it was only $400 more. I know that must sound ridiculous to somebody. It's like, well, I don't have $400. And it's like, well, I it's like, because at the time, right, it's not that I wanted to spend the money on it anyway, but since I was spending the money anyway, I've always regretted not buying the larger Cintiq, which I think would have also solved my issue with the touch screen, because I think like their larger models have better, I guess, like better drivers or something for the touchscreen than the smaller versions. So so I always regretted not getting the larger screen, spending that money and getting the larger screen. And the thing, I was being cheap. It's not like I couldn't have done it. I was just being cheap, and like I said, I've regretted it ever since. So I wanted to make sure that when I'm put in that position again, because this is an old Cintiq anyway, so I just want to be prepared. And so I made a little wish list so that the second I need to buy it, I could just go to my wish list. So I decided that if I had to upgrade, or when I have to upgrade, I'm going to get the Cintiq Pro 22-inch, which, according to the measurements, is actually not, like, it's not that much larger physically than the 16, but the screen, like the actual workspace, is much larger. And even though, so it's like, and then like, even though technically the Pro is more expensive than their like regular model, in the end I felt it was just like that extra money. Like, I mean, the difference is like, it's like the regular model is like $1,600 or $1,700, and their Pro model is like $2,500. But the Pro model has a lot of the features that I want, so might as well, like I said, don't be cheap. You know, it's like, especially if you're buying equipment that you need, and this equipment should last you for a while. So, um, so I have to keep myself from being cheap again and actually get the equipment that I actually need. Um, so yeah, so I have that all set up. So let me get his eyebrows here. So I have that all set up. But that's probably not going to be for a while. Still, you know, so at least I don't have to worry about it. But I'm ready, you know, pretty much. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Okay. You know, and honestly, I know that I could put the other image in like a separate window so that I could see it better. You know, I could see them both at the same time. But again, the real estate is very limited on the 16-inch, so I don't do that. I'd rather just go back and forth and still keep my larger screen area available than having both of these tiled, and then it's like having this much smaller screen. It's like, yeah, it's just, you know, that's just how I would rather work. So like, so the right, so as you can see here, you know, I have that character. So then once I put in the shading, then it's slowly turning into the page, how the page is going to look when it's done. So okay, so let me just go back. So what am I doing here? Oh, I see it. So yeah, so this whole thing about being slower than I wanted to admit, right? It's like, because the main thing that bugs me about that is that, like, I do want to get these books out faster. Hold on. Melissa says that I heard that it can be more strain on the shoulder to have a bigger tablet, but I would love to have more screen space on my tablet for menus. I have a 13-inch, right? Yeah. That's why I didn't want to go too large, because I think they also have like a 27-inch, which seemed just excessive. And also that's like almost like $5,000 or something. And it's like, it's a little excessive. You know, and yeah, and it's like, and once I realized the 22-inch is really not that much larger than what I'm using, but the active area that you use is, that's where I made the decision. It's like, okay, that's the size I'm going to get, you know, if I have to, because it's not that much larger than what I'm working on now, but I'll have more real estate to work with. So there we go. Okay. So yeah, so my whole thing, right, with that I've kind of just been like, you know, my usual angsting. If you've been watching the vlogs, you know how I go. You know, because it's like, you know, I want to, you know, put out books faster, you know. And it bothers me that I can't, that I'm literally limited by how fast I can produce the work. It's not like, like a lot of people that I'm surrounded by, they're mostly hiring out. So it's a lot easier for them to be able to put out more books because, okay, they have like multiple artists working on multiple books, or but it's like, like their limitation is only by how much money they can spend to get artists to make the books for them, while my limitation is just how quickly I can get the books out myself. But so it's like, so the thing that I have been like trying to mitigate, I guess, is kind of, not kind of, but figuring out like why is it that I get so distracted by, when I'm trying to work. And I'm not talking about like social media. So it's like, I'm talking about like, like tasks that I actually have to do. I was talking about this on Monday, where it's like, I have this tendency to prioritize other people's tasks than my own. And, so what that tells me is that I have a scheduling problem. Oh, yeah, it seems like every time I turn around, Rob's got another Night Wolf, and I'm still on the same book. Yeah, although if you talk to Rob, it's like he feels like he's not putting out his books fast enough. So I don't know. Maybe we all have variations of that idea of like whether we're putting out books fast enough or not. And yeah, so it's like, so that tells me that I have more of a scheduling problem rather than a distraction problem. Although, I don't know, maybe it's like one and the same. Because you see, here's the thing, right, that comes with the title, right, is that I take putting stuff on Kickstarter very seriously. And even from the beginning, my number one rule on doing this, when I decided to do Ego Raven, to release the series seriously, was, my number one rule was never do a Kickstarter without a finished book. So, because it's like, we see this happening all the time on Kickstarter. It's like people run a campaign for their book, and then you don't hear from them for another 2, 3, 10 years. I mean, there are people who still owe books after 10 years. It's like, honey, stop pretending that you're going to finish your book in a day now, because after 10 years, we're past that, that's not even a page a month at that point, and it was just like kind of funny to see like how many so-called professionals burned a lot of goodwill by doing that. That it's like they have like, it's like, like they have these careers, right? But then the second they decided to go at it on Kickstarter, they're no different than they ended up no different than like the amateur artists on Twitter or wherever taking commissions, and then and then it's like and then it's like, oh, I can't do it because I'm sick or this and that, and life got in the way, and then you're waiting again like 5 years for a commission, right? Like how. But the difference between an amateur and a professional is that you expected better from the professional, right? It's like these are people who've had careers, right? But the second they have to do shit on themselves, all of a sudden they don't know anything. All of a sudden they're rank amateur. And it's like, and it's just like really funny to kind of see, like, now mind you, a lot of these people are kind of like dropping off. Like there just comes a point where it's like they just end up disappearing or whatnot, or it's like, or they keep putting out Kickstarters, but you can see people are fed up with them, because they're not making the same money that they were making before. Because it's like, why? It's like you didn't earn anybody's trust. Why should people support your new campaign when you're old? You haven't fulfilled the last 5 campaigns that you've run. I mean, I think it's so ridiculous that Kickstarter kind of like just blindly allows people to just like sit on unfulfilled campaigns while still continue to run campaigns. And the thing is, though, I'm not talking about the fact that, yeah, it takes, like if you're printing your stuff in China, if you are printing offset and you're ordering in bulk, that, yeah, it could take several months to get your products back to fulfill. But a lot of the times it just comes off more. Well, it just ends up being more like really, really bad planning on part of the creator. And and it's like, and it just like amazes me that there are people who kind of like they think like this is acceptable, right? While at the same time kind of lamenting how they're not like making the same numbers. So it's like, so my thing is, like I said, I'm very conscious of that when I'm doing my books. Like, I don't want people to wait, 6 months, a year, 2 years, oh, hello, Subliteral. Without a publisher carrying their water, pros are just like indie crowdfunders. Some of them learn a hard lesson. No, for real. That's literally what it is that a lot of these creators, these so-called professional creators, like, oh, what's going on here? So, yeah, they were like very used to the publisher doing everything. It was the publisher that handled distribution and selling and all that stuff. All they had to do was do the book and deliver it on time. Like that deadline, they knew how to meet. It's like when their editor says, we need your book by X date, right? They knew how to meet that deadline. And when you're working in traditional publishing, those printing deadlines are almost sacrosanct. Because you gotta like, you have to like remember that it's like these publishers, mainstream publishers, most of the time they have to schedule in advance the time at the printer to print these books. They just don't send in a file and go, here, print this. You know, they have to schedule that time. That's where the deadlines come from. So when a publisher says, we need your book by X date because we have this time scheduled at the printer and we have to get the files to them by this date, yeah, it's like you have no choice, because a lot of times, you know, depending on, I guess, like the company, they can get, you know, they can get like pretty much fined for missing their print deadline because they're holding up the machine. Let's see. What was the color I was using? You know, so these creators working for these mainstream publishers, yeah, they know how to take those deadlines seriously. When the editor says you have to have your book in by X date, yeah, they know how to do that. But once they're on their own, it's like they'll use their like credentials at this so-and-so publisher. Oh, I've been published by so-and-so publisher. They will use those credentials to kind of like show you how professional they are. But then once the campaign ends and they get your money, all of a sudden, all of that goes out the window and nobody knows how to do shit. You know? And then it's like, yeah, and there are, and, you know, and the funny thing is like, look, it's like when you have amateurs that are like really like actual indie creators kind of mucking the system up, you can kind of like forgive them for not knowing. Almost. Because then that just means they didn't do their research or they completely miscalculated how quickly they were going to do their work, which is why I have my rule: never launch a Kickstarter without a finished book. But these so-called professionals, they don't have the excuse, because it's like they're more than happy to remind you during the campaign that they're professionals, and, you know, it's like, oh, and, you know, they had their stuff printed in Marvel or DC or whatever, go support their book. And then, like I said, the second the campaign, you know, closes, they're like, oh, I'm a small bean who's never done this before, and it's my birthday. You know, all of a sudden they're all like that. And then they wonder, you know, why they can't hold on to that goodwill. Why then their resume doesn't mean anything anymore when they try to launch another campaign and another campaign. You know, mostly to kind of raise the money they blew on the first campaign, because they raised all that money and then it was all hookers and blows from there. And then, oh my God, you mean I have to like fulfill? You know, and then they're the ones screaming about how life got in the way. You know, life got in the way, but they had no problem spending the money that belonged to that campaign. So, you know, but the thing is, though, is, you know, my point being is that, you know, when you're working on projects, you know, deadlines are important, you know, even if they're internal deadlines, because just because I have, you know, like, you know, I could just finish my book whenever I want, doesn't mean that I want to take forever to do this book. Melissa goes, a comics career is constantly just beating off life with a bat. Yeah, really. Well, we try to get our books done. After a while, that excuse doesn't cut it. Right, which was why I hate it. which is why it's like the second somebody says, oh, life got in the way, it's like give me a break. It's like you didn't know, like, really, like life was just supposed to stop while you were getting your shit together. That's not how it ever happens, you know? So yeah, it's like, that's not an excuse for not getting your work done, for not getting what you need to get done, right? So right. So that's the thing, right? So I got to a point where I realized it's like, oh snap, I am not as put together as I like to pretend I was, right? Because I had this, like, for the first like 4 years of putting EgoRaven on Kickstarter, I had this buffer. I had this buffer of issues already, and I had also a buffer from Tall Tales. So I was able to like really kind of like release books at a good clip and still be ahead. The problem is that I got to a point last year in 2025, now that we can say that, where I ran out of that buffer, and now I'm kind of like flailing a bit. I really felt like that all of 2025, even though I was still able to get like 4 campaigns, you know, completed and fulfilled. They're all fulfilled. And now I'm just starting that process all over again, where it's like, oh my goodness, it's like I'm kind of like thinking, am I going to be able to get this issue like done so that I can launch in January, you know, or am I going to have to like push it off? And it's like, and I really don't want to push it off. Like optimally, I want to launch. Well, it's not going to happen. Optimally, I would have liked to have launched on Monday, issue 12. But I don't think I'm going to have enough finished to be able to do that. So, but the thing is that I have that initial deadline. And it's kind of giving me like, okay, so I'm not going to meet that deadline, but I want to stay as close as I can to it. So, okay, so I have this schedule, right? So I have this deadline, January 12th. Am I going to, I mean, sure, I could just launch it anyway and just finish my book in the meantime, but I don't feel comfortable doing that. I think that I'm a little bit too far ahead to feel confident to do that. So I'm not going to do that. I want to, at worst, just have the flatting ready, you know, like just left for me to feel confident to launch the campaign and know I'm going to finish the book within the time frame of that campaign and have a proof done by the time the campaign ends. You know, but I still have to have, you know, deadlines for myself to organize that. You know, so that's kind of like what I'm playing around with now. So it's like, so the deadlines are not necessarily something that's customer facing in this case, right? So the customer facing deadline was the 12th. That's when I wanted to go live, but I didn't announce that because I didn't want to publicly commit to it. because I knew I was this far behind. So now it's like, it's all about, okay, how do I schedule myself so that I still feel like I'm producing my work in a reasonable amount of time, like I said, without feeling like I'm just falling behind because I can't get my shit together. So that's kind of like, like where I'm at right now. So it's like, so my goal, to the deadline that I set for myself is, okay, the 12th is out of the question, but can I get these 5 pages that I showed you before? Can I get these complete enough, or just like, inked and shaded, so that I could launch on the 19th? Could I do that? So that's kind of the tentative change in my schedule right now. So that's kind of like what I'm running with. Just like, yeah, but it's like, because my 2026 calendar has a tentative schedule for the entire year. I'm not a journal person. I'm not like a person who's constantly carrying, like always filling out, like, oh, this is what I do today, and this is what, like a planner person. That's it. I'm not somebody who's constantly noodling with a planner, to like, oh, well, today, like, the people who start their mornings like, oh, today I'm gonna create a list of my tasks, my important tasks for the day, and then I'm going to cross them out, and then we do the process again. It's like, I never could get into that. I don't know, because I don't know why. I kind of suspect it has something to do with the fact that, well, what happens if I miss too much, like too many goals for a day, and then it's like I just have to pass it to the next day. And then it's like, and then all my schedule is just taking tasks from the day before, and constantly copying them until I get them done. And then it's like, this is not really helpful. And then I just get frustrated, and then I just like, and then no more schedule. It's like no more of that planning. So what I try to do is I try to pull my schedule out a little bit further. So it's like, instead of saying I'm going to get a page done a day, I say, it's like, okay, I have to get this book finished by, like in this case, I have to get these 5 pages done before the end of January. I cannot leave January with this book unfinished. So that's kind of like the schedule that I work on. So, because at least like it allows, like it doesn't like, so it kind of like locks me in to a deadline, but I'm giving myself enough space to allow me to work in the stuff that happens to just fall in, life, things like life, right? Or like the other tasks that I know that I have to do, but they're not really something I officially put on my schedule. Like, like there's books I have to put together for Jose. They don't really go on the schedule. I just know that, okay, this weekend I have to work on these tasks for Jose's comics before I get back and then after I'm done with that, then I can go back to working on my tasks. So that's kind of how I work my schedule. It's not exactly yeah, it kind of sounds a little all over the place, but I'm not completely convinced that that's my problem. That it's like, oh, if I only kept a tighter schedule, maybe I could get my work done faster. It's like, no, I don't quite think that's the problem. No. Let's see where it's virus. So I mean, I know I spoke about this on the vlog a bit, but the one thing that I did notice was kind of an issue was that I kind of figure out a way to fix it is, like I said, I get distracted very easily with other tasks, and instead of just finishing the task that I'm supposed to be like locking in on, I end up allowing myself to get distracted and kind of like, okay, I'll work for a couple of minutes and then, oh, I forgot to do that or something, right? So, and then all of a sudden I'm doing laundry when I should be working on my pages. And that's kind of like what I find has been happening, that it's like, I'll work for 5 minutes and then it's like, oh, I got to take the stuff out of the dryer. Oh, I got to empty out the dishwasher. I got to all of a sudden, all these little tasks. Oh, I forgot to vacuum, right? Or something. And so what I did to kind of hold that off was there's two ways I do this. So one way that I started using a timer. It's like I had mentioned the Pomodoro technique, that little tomato timer thing. So I set a timer for an hour, and my goal is to just work on one thing for that hour. That one thing being working on my pages. And once I get over that really weird hump of that sudden oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, the second I start working, it takes about 20 minutes. Once I get over that, then I'm able to get through the hour and actually concentrate on working. Let's see. Oh, okay. So that's one way of doing that. And then the other way I keep myself from not getting distracted is by working in bed, which sounds really stupid, but so what I'm doing, right? So I take Jose's he has this back thing, pillow thing that looks like a half chair that he uses to read in bed. So I take that, I put that on my side of the bed, I set up my pillow, and then I get into bed, and then I have my tablet, and then I just work. I just start working. And it's been very effective, I must add. So what that does, right, is that once I'm in bed and once I'm very comfortable, right, You see, the funny thing is that when I do that, I don't get that 20 minutes of, "Ooh, I gotta do shit, I gotta do shit, I gotta do shit." That doesn't happen. Like, it's kind of like my brain knows that once I'm in bed, we're in bed. We're not doing anything else. So, so then I'm able to work. Then I just work on my tablet and just work, and that's it. I don't need a timer or anything. I could just sit there. I could just sit in bed and just work. It's kind of like my bedroom is so separated from the office. My brain weirdly stops being in work mode, which is funny because even though technically I'm working in bed, I'm drawing, so I'm just working, I'm just working on my pages, which in a strange way is simultaneously not work. So I'm able to concentrate on actually working. So it's kind of, so it was just kind of funny to realize how that worked. Like, that's how it worked in Florida when I was in Florida. But I just thought it was because I was in Florida. I didn't have my office at all. So it was very easy for me to just spend time and work on the pages, and I got a lot of work done that way. But once I got back, right? So that's kind of like, so I remember like Rob Multari, he said on the previous vlog that the office has to be just for work, right? So it's like, and it's like, and I agree, the office is just for work. Everything that I do in here is pretty much work related. I gotta clean that up. Oh, dang. I had to put that on the wrong layer. Hold on. All right, hold on. I had that on the wrong layer. There we go. Much better. But I think for me, it became counterproductive because then it's like once I'm in the office, everything is work. So so that's why I guess my brain has no problem interrupting me, because it's like, well, you're still working. This is just more work. This is just the other work that you have to do. But once I'm in bed, there's no work to be done. So yeah, so it was just yeah, so I'm trying to incorporate that more often. And just spend time in bed working on pages because it's the only place I could seem to really, really lock in. But the timer works too. So if you're somebody with a problem with having a problem scheduling yourself, it's like sometimes it's stupid little tricks like that that can actually make the difference. Because in the end, it's meeting the deadline that's important, not how you meet the deadline. So as long as I meet my deadline to complete this book by the end of January so I can finally launch issue 12, then it doesn't matter that I spent most of that in bed trying to finish this work. Like I remember this woman telling me, like, I don't care how you cook the meal as long as it's like, I just want the meal. I just want to eat the food. I don't care how you prepared it. It was something to that effect. And it's like, yeah, that's in the end, that's what I have to do. There is nothing that says that to meet a deadline, I have to do it under these specific parameters, and it has to be in an office, and it has to be at a desk, and this, that, and the other thing to be professional, right? And in the end, all professional means is that you get paid for your work and you meet deadlines. That's what that means, right? Everything else is negotiable. So that's kind of like another thing too, where it's like kind of letting go of the idea that it's like, oh, I can only work in an office. I can only do my work in the office. Right? When it's like, well, no, I don't actually. That's why, buying the tablet, the Wacom Moving, was such a game changer for me, because I was able to tell myself, no, you can be anywhere and do your work. Because the other thing that I was thinking of, oh damn, always, yeah, I have to be really careful with what layer I put the flats on, or else I'm just gonna like screw up my inking. Let's just double check here. Yeah. I see. You see here, these are on the wrong layer. Let me see if I can go back. I kind of doubt it. I'm going to have to redo some stuff. Okay. And that. Okay, there we go. Luckily I went, yeah, but that's kind of the thing that always throws me off, is accidentally using the fill on the wrong layer. Okay, so let's do that again. Okay. All right, we are on the flats layer. Okay. Okay, there we go. Much better. There we go. Yeah. Okay, now I can pick up where I left off. There we go. So that's kind of like the that's what's been bugging me these past couple of weeks, is like getting the distractions under control. Because also the other thing too is that the other thing that I was thinking about is like going to the library and just working there. Like completely remove myself from the environment and just force myself to be in an environment where I have no other choice. But it's cold out, and I'd rather not go outside if I don't have to. Okay. Okay, make sure we're back on the proper layer. Everything that I erased here I have to fix. Okay, we can do that. There we go. Okay, much better. Yeah, all right. Aye. So, yeah. Because, yeah, you are not going to catch me being one of those people who, like, makes people wait a year or more for their books because they couldn't get their shit together, or they thought they didn't need to get their shit together before they got paid for the work on Kickstarter. You know, honestly, it's like, I find it ironic that, you know, like before, when you had to like pay for a lot of this stuff out of pocket because something like Kickstarter didn't exist, you know, the whole argument for, oh, I can only produce a book once a year because, oh, I can't afford, you know, to like, oh, I will have my shit not together in private. You know, it's like that they would say, it's like, oh, it's like, you know, because everything had to come out of pocket, it would take a year. You know, it was kind of like you could almost accept that it would take a year to produce a book because you had to like make that money or get that money elsewhere. And then, you know, just like, you know, and then you had to pay out of pocket for printing and you had to do everything in advance, or then you had to sell, you know, so that was kind of like the excuse, you know, that it's like, oh, well, you know, things got in the way and we couldn't afford to do it. We can't afford to do it faster, this and the other thing. But then Kickstarter comes out, right? Now you can sell your book directly to people without the need of a middleman, right? And somehow the problems are still the same, right? Like now it's like you get the money all in advance and this, that, and the other thing. But oh, well, we can only do a book a year because, you know, life got in the way and this, that, and the other thing. But this time you get to spend the money in advance. So by the time you go to fulfill, you have no more money to ship anything, to even make or ship anything, you know? So it's like, so in the end, it wasn't really the money that was the problem. You know, it's kind of like going back to the whole AI thing, right? That the people who said that AI was going to open up their creativity, and then in the end, it just turned out that all they asked the generative image thing to do is just naked people and minion memes. Like, you know, you were an uncreative asshole before AI. You're going to be an uncreative asshole after the AI, right? So in this case, going to be, you know what? You were a hot mess who couldn't schedule anything to save your life before Kickstarter. Kickstarter didn't make it easier for you. You know, you're still, you know, you're dealing with the same struggles you had before Kickstarter, except now you're adding more struggle because you're spending the money, you're getting the money in advance, and you're spending it in advance, you're blowing it in advance. So by the time you finally do get the book that's finished, that money's long gone, and now you have to do another Kickstarter to use that. But you turn it into like a Ponzi scheme that you need another Kickstarter to pay for the previous Kickstarter that you blew, right? Which is also the thing that a lot of these publishers do too. You know, these so-called professionals on Kickstarter, where they're just essentially running a Ponzi scheme for their own books. You know, you know, but that's none of my business. You know, but like, yeah, it's like, so if you can't get your shit together before Kickstarter is not going to help you get your shit together. You know, so that's like something you have to cultivate before, you know, you start really being customer facing. You know, because like in the past, the thing that we would use as kind of like the goal for the year, like we have to get our books done by this date type of thing, was San Diego Comic-Con. And you know, and it's like you know, so yeah, so it's like we would have like every year, it was a combination of, it was a combination of giving ourselves a goal to work towards, but also San Diego Comic-Con, in order to get a small publisher table at San Diego Comic-Con, your stuff had to be vetted, and you had to show the convention committee that you were going to have new things at the show, because that way they were able to weed out the people who only had the same book year after year after year. You know, those guys who only have the issue 1 and they never get past that, right? They didn't want those people taking up space. So you had to prove to them that you had new product for the year before they agreed to give you a table. So that's why it was, you know, so it was like a push for us. Like if we wanted, wrong color. If we wanted to be at San Diego, we had to show them that we had new product. So that was our deadline. So that was our self-imposed deadline that we worked towards. Now, since we don't go to San Diego anymore, we have Kickstarter. So now what I do is at the beginning, like right before at the end of the year, I set up my schedule for the new year. So for 2026, I have my tentative schedule for my Kickstarter schedule for the rest of the year, so that I know what I'm working towards. You know, and it's like, and the idea is that I'm giving myself a good faith opportunity. Like I'm giving myself a good faith schedule, which means that my effort has to be in good faith to meet it. So these are the campaigns that I want to do for this year, right? So as long as I make a good faith effort, I can pretty much meet those deadlines. Right? So we're talking about like 4 campaigns this year again. I mean, I would love to go back to 6, but I do not have enough material for 6 campaigns this year, unless I try to like cobble together more sketchbooks. But you know, it's like I have some sketchbooks that I have to finish this year. You know, but like I said, the schedule is good faith. You see, that's the thing. It's creating a good faith schedule, not an optimized schedule that's completely dependent on everything running perfectly. And it's like, oh, I could do, if I work exactly like this and it doesn't fall apart within 3 days, I want to run 12 campaigns a year. Right? That is not a good faith schedule. And, and if you think, so it's like when you give yourself a schedule, when you create a schedule for yourself, you have to ask yourself, is this a good faith schedule? Or am I just setting myself up for failure? That like this is going to fall apart in 3 days. Because just because you give yourself a tight schedule doesn't mean that you can that you can meet it. And it's like, and comparing yourself to like, well, I mean, it's like this artist at Marvel can draw X amount of pages in X amount of days. I should be able to do that. No, well, should you? Should you do that? Do you need to do that? Do you work for Marvel? Like I don't see the reason why you should hold yourself up to that standard. If it's not what you're doing. So it's like when you're setting a schedule for yourself, you ask yourself, is this a good faith schedule? Even with things going wrong or things, life getting in the way, will I be able to stick to this schedule? Right? And and it's like, yeah, it requires you to be honest with yourself, which I think is also something that a lot of people have problems with, is being honest with themselves. We all want to pretend that, we're a lot more efficient than we really are. And I think that we just have to accept the fact that that's not the place where we're at. It's like, when you tell yourself, I want to do 12 campaigns a year, right? The next question should be, when was the last time you did 12 campaigns a year? Right? And if you did do that, what were you doing that allowed you to do that? What did you have to do that allowed you to do that? Right? Or it's like you say, oh, I want to do this comic. I want to finish a comic in 1 month. Again, when was the last time you did that? And if your answer is, I've never done that before, but I'm pretty sure I can, my advice to you is to confirm that you can do that first before committing to anything else based on that information. Yeah. So it's like, do not schedule. If you think that you're going to be able to do a comic in January, finish a comic in January so that February 1st you can run a campaign, make sure you can actually do the January part first before you worry about whether you can run a campaign on February 1st. If you've never done a comic before, you should not be scheduling comic Kickstarters. That is not on the agenda right now for you. And I know that people have this like, oh, gotta monetize, I gotta monetize as quickly as possible, right? But it's like, look, to monetize correctly, you have to create a certain level of trust to do that with the audience, with your potential audience. And saying that you imagine yourself doing a comic in a month when it really takes you a year to do, but you're running a Kickstarter anyway and making everybody wait a year when you said that you were able to do it in a month, That's not earning people's trust. So that's where the whole, like, you have to be, if you want to be professional, that means that there's a certain level of trust the audience has with you that you've already earned. And you earn that by having deadlines that you meet. That it's like that. I think that, you see, here's like it is better for you to wait a year to run a Kickstarter than it is to run a Kickstarter and make your audience wait a year for your book. Because the audience is only going to see the fact that they pledged to a Kickstarter that didn't deliver in a year. But if you get your book done, run the Kickstarter, and then get your rewards out to people within like 2 months, then they see that, oh, this person can fulfill their campaigns in a reasonable amount of time. That's what they'll see. And I think that's, like I said, waiting. If it's going to take you a year to finish a book, then you wait the year to run a Kickstarter, rather than running that Kickstarter and making people wait a year, because there's only very particular people who can get away with making their audience wait a year. People will wait a year for the Transformers omnibus. People will wait a year for their G.I. Joe omnibus or whatever, right? People will wait a year for, I don't know, famous publisher, famous mainstream publisher or whatever. Like, mainstream publishers will get a grace that you will not get as an independent creator. Even if you have worked for those publishers by yourself, you will not get that grace, right? You will need to plan out your strategy, on how you're going to sell to these people beforehand, and you have to be on point with that, and you have to give yourself deadlines in order to accomplish that. Because if you cannot meet deadlines, your audience is not going to stay. Because all they want, they don't care how you cook, how you're cooking your shit. They just want to get the shit that you promised them. I don't know if I'm making any sense in this, but that's pretty much what's been running in my head with trying to get this book done. Is that it's like, I would rather wait and have my book done, then run a campaign, than, but I said I was going to run a campaign on the 19th, and so I better go live even though my book isn't finished. No, we're not going to do that. We are not going to do that. Yeah. Ay. Let's see. Well, so it's like 10 minutes left. But I think, you know what? I think it's like I'm ahead enough. I think that I can continue. You know what? I'm just going to continue until I finish the page, and then I'm not going to worry about, ending at 4 o'clock. Because I don't think I have that much left to finish the page. So oh yeah, then that. There we go. Okay. Oh, I've read his belt. Who knows? Maybe that whole thing was just me reminding myself not to be stupid. Maybe that's what that whole thing is. In the end, I'm not really talking about anybody in particular. I'm just reminding myself why I have the rule that I have. And not to stray from it just because I want to feel like I'm finishing faster than I really am. But I am thinking of people who should have known better too. Okay, so let me save. We're saving. Did all this work and didn't save once. That's not a good thing to do. Okay, so all right, I just need his boots. So I'm going to, where are my characters? Where's my boy? Where is he? Where are you? Here you are. Here's my boy. Just need to see what color his boots are. Okay. Oh, okay. I don't have. All right. Oh, and this belongs here. Okay. Oh. All right. Okay, so there we have the characters done. Now let's try to. All right, let me see. What? All right, let me see which. Let's see, open. Let's see which page I could just take. Like 11, page 11. I mean, issue 11 would do. Let me see. What? Let's see. Oh, I know which panel. I know which. Where is it? Here. We'll use that one. Let's see. So I'm now loading up a page from the previous issue that I can take for the colors for the background. Okay, good. There we go. So let me do that. We're going to use the wand for that because that'll be a little faster. And then what I'll do is I'll just adjust it once I have the flats in. Okay. there we go. We have a missing spot. So I'm going to fix this one and this one. Okay. Gosh, let me get that a little darker. Okay. And this one, I think I'm going to make a little lighter. There we go. Okay. Okay. I do this. Okay. Let's see. Let's try different. Let's do this one. I don't like it when it's too. Yeah, much better. Much better. Okay. And we're going to do this. Okay, and then, well, actually, let's see. Do that. No, I don't want to use that color. Actually, maybe that. Let's see how that looks. Let me gray it a little bit. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do, actually, you know what? I want to make that. You know what? I want to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay. Now let's and we'll fix that. Okay. All right, so now we're going to take that brown, I'm going to darken it up a bit, and then we're going to do it like that. Yeah, there we go. That's, yeah, I think that's what I want. Okay, let me just, there's one that I have to fix here. Yeah, here it is. There we go. Okay, so all the flats are in, and now when I put the shading and the highlights in, I got myself a finished page, finally. There we go. we have a finished page. Not gonna lie, I was getting really close there. Oh my goodness. So there we go. Finished page. A rarity for the stream. But thank you, Melissa. Thank you. But yeah. So oh my goodness. So the first official finished page of issue 12. Oh my goodness. So there we go. So Springs Eternal. So that's and with that, I think we're pretty much and with that thank you, Lou, thank you. And with that, the live stream. The live stream for the day has officially come to a close. Oh my goodness. So there we have it. There we go. Our first very satisfying, I might say. A very satisfying finished, complete page for Ego Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, issue 12. Yes, that's exactly how we're going to see this. That's one less page I need to work on now. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so there we go. There we have it. But yeah, that's where I am right now. Just trying to remind myself that not to rush, no fine wine before it's time, right? Yeah, my goal was to launch on Monday, but that's not happening. But the deadline that I have put myself on for this project is end of January. A little loosey-goosey, but no, January, I want this done because I want to start working on issue 13 and get that started because that I have put myself a deadline for finishing that by the end of March. So I actually want to finish this sooner than the end of January so I can start on issue 13 and get ahead of that as well. Because yeah, if I am able to finish that at the end of March, then I will have an extra campaign for this year. So, but I got to finish it first. So we'll see. So there we have it. Complete page. Man, I wish it was time to drink. Well, I guess if you believed in yourself, hard enough, it's always time to drink, I guess. Oh, well, unless you're at work. I just realized I keep forgetting that that I did start earlier. That it's not 6 o'clock, it's still 4 o'clock. It's just hitting 4 o'clock now. So that yeah, you're still at work. No drinking at work. So yeah, no drinking at work. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today for this milestone. Finishing a page on the live stream. But you know what? This is kind of like another kind of like strange way to lock in, even though technically it's not. It's more like if I'm working at a convention where it's like I'm working, but I'm also like interacting with you at the same time. But the important part of the interaction is you guys watching me work. So I have to work. So, it's like, look, like I said, whatever gets the work done, that's what you should do. Nobody needs to know all the weird rituals you have to put yourself through in order to get stuff finished, as long as you get stuff finished. So So again, thank you everybody for joining me in the chat. Thank you, Melissa, Lou, Subliteral, Joseph, Ephraim. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you so much to all of the beautiful eyeball people watching from regions beyond. Thank you so much for having me in the background. I am honored to be the noise in your background. Very honored. Like I said, you could be listening to anything else, but instead you decided to spend your time with me, and I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, it's like, look, it's like, thank you so much. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you're at least entertained. So again, thank you so much for your time and attention in this hellscape. Oh my goodness. So if you want to learn more about me and my artwork and everything else that I do and my upcoming campaigns and all that, you can head on over to my main portfolio site at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can read Egoraven, Heir of the First Unicorn for free if you want to not wait for the Kickstarter, or you want to catch up with it before the Kickstarter. Either way, you can read it for free on the website. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a furry Lord of the Rings adventure, you can follow the link over to Tall Tales. That's TAIL lessonline.com. And you can read the archive there. Either website, you're going to be reading for a while. There's a nice, healthy archive on both the sites. So you can entertain yourself with either one of my comics. Whichever vibe you like, right? But also remember too that Egoraven is on pre-launch on Kickstarter. Issue 12 link is in the chat. Sign up, get notified when I decide to launch the campaign. You will get an email notifying you of that. And also, while you're on the website, make sure to sign up for my newsletter where you can keep up to date with all of my art, sketchbooks, comics, and get an email directly from me at least once a month about whatever I'm up to, and to remind you about what campaigns are coming up. So you can, so just join the website, go to either website, join the newsletter, and just keep track of me there. And while you're at it, you can get a free PDF comics bundle for joining. So just by signing up for my newsletter, you can enjoy the first 3 issues of Tall Tales, the first issue of Egoraven, and the first 3 issues of the Oswald Chronicles, if you want to check that out as well. So thank you so much again for joining me today. Remember, no matter what happens, be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today. That's really, all any of us can hope can hope for. And thank you so much again. And I will see you next time.
You are all weirdos. Ugh.